All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are from. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Sunday Coffee Klatch, where we just sit back, relax, come up with some interesting topics, and try to have fun. I'm waiting for someone to get on. Part of our conversation last Sunday was we were covering a lot of things, some things that we probably shouldn't have. They say don't talk about religion, politics, and sex. I think the only thing we really didn't talk about was sex. That's sad, but um, and question was, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Try to change my mind. That wasn't me. We'll see if Donnie shows up today. I told him to bring out his boxing gloves. Gonna try this music channel out, some coffee blend someone put together on YouTube. And of course, gotta burp a couple of this. I've been thinking about trying out, or I had downloaded it and I didn't install it. The Elgato Wavelink, I think it's 3.1 right now. You don't need a Wavelink to use it. The software is free to use. I don't know. I I do a lot of stuff. I'm having a hard time getting it on Windows to set that up. Excuse me. God, I've been up for over an hour and a half, and yeah, old man stuff, man. Just don't get old. Don't get old. And it seems like I got to burp a lot of my audio stuff at times. And what I mean by burp is I have to click on it again. Oh, I see. That's right. I did update speaker bot. That's okay there. So yeah, Sundays just for chatting, talking about stuff we did for the week. We'll talk about movies, books, music, food, mostly. A lot of times food. We do talk about food a lot. And we just try to keep it pleasant, friendly. Uh I try to keep this a pretty safe environment. You can have your opinion, but there's no forcing down the throat, and just don't be mean. Um, we have a quite a bit of name calling going on in the world, especially here in the States, especially from our beloved leader. And I use beloved very sarcastically. And that's the first thing we want to do is, you're stupid, you're dumb. Um, from things like politics to flat Earth. We did talk a little bit about flat Earth last week. Oh my God! If believe what you believe, if you believe it, but leave your mind open or try to. It's hard to, we all put ourselves in our own bubble, and YouTube and all that really doesn't help a lot. The news stuff that we watch doesn't help a lot. You know, hard
Steve,
to.
someone has joined the chat on Twitch.
Hey, JJ. Wonder how someone could be a flat earther. Well, we walk outside, right? I'm sitting in a room, and hard to think that I'm actually, well, why aren't we looking this way? The gravity of the situation, JJ, the gravity of the situation. but a lot of people do, and I don't know, hundreds of years of science and testing and but no, it's NASA. NASA's lying. NASA controls everything. I mean, and you keep throwing the information from the Bible, and the Bible says, well, the Bible's how many thousands of years old when man didn't know anything, and at that time it was just like in the Middle East. The rest of the world wasn't fully discovered yet. Just like this Columbus discovered America, but there were Native Americans all over the place. Excuse me. Gosh, good, 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 good. But people believe it, and you have to come up with denies to believe. But well, look at our politics here in the States. People believe that he's doing fantastic, and gas has finally come down a little bit, depending on where you live. Here it ranges from still around $5 a gallon to maybe about $5.89 a gallon, $4.89 a gallon. Whereas a month and a half ago, it was like I think the most it got up to $3.59 a gallon. I know everywhere else in the world, especially what Vince told me in Australia, it's like eight something, almost $9 EU, not EU, Australian for a liter of gas. Yeah, but we're constantly told to trust our senses, and we're as creatures of this earth, we're used to the environment, the uh, the gravity of the situation. But they have no proof. They have no flat earth pictures because everybody else is lying and it's a conspiracy. And as long as you just keep saying that, your belief is fine. But I do believe it's like a lot of these people that use negativity to promote themselves. The internet, the streaming, podcasts, videos, and all that, make us feel important. Like we were missing something out in our lives
Steve,
before.
someone has joined the chat on Twitch.
Hello, Thailand.
Hey, Johnny. We're back to Flat Earth. Let me grab a tea first. How you doing, legend? Well, thank you. You're too kind, Donnie. Well, yeah, I'm gonna start shit right off the bat. I was giving shit to my brother-in-law. He reached out to another brother-in-law. Hey, what are you schmoes doing Friday? Would you like to meet, go out for a drink? So I sent this real weird gift that said dog that's got teeth like this and it's like doing this. And then my other brother-in-law sends a another gif or a picture. It's the beer, it's not the conversation or something like that. And I sent another word gift, and he's like, I don't my brother-in-law that originally sent the message was like, what does this stuff mean? And then my other brother-in-law sends a picture of someone with a thumbs up. And then I sent the one that a gift of Elmo going, just messing with them, and we always my brother-in-law's wife loves John Hamm, and my son is always, hey, Uncle Bob, what do you think of John Hamm? And I said, well, actually, John Hamm reached out to us and said that he was going to take us out on Friday. And I said, oh, no, I can't do that to Bob. And my wife's like, you're an instigator. Me? No. I am guilty of, we'll be at dinner sometimes and like the conversation gets really quiet and I'll make not a nasty comment, but I'll make a comment about my sister-in-law and then everybody starts picking on her. And I go back to eating. I'm a bad boy. I'm a bad boy. Banter is fun. Banter is friendly. Keeping it nice, you know. But it is, people just want to believe in conspiracies so much. But I do believe in the science that's been given to us. But spice it up, mate. Being single is more fun than being in a relationship, in your honest opinion. Looks around for a fry pan. It can be. But my wife and I.
Someone has joined the chat on YouTube.
Can we argue about religion and politics? I already started. When I started dating my wife back in 1984. My wife and I have been together for 42 years. We've been married for 38. Yeah. So I have no idea what it's like to be alone. But I'll tell you this: if I know if something had ever happened and my wife and I finally split up, that neither of us would have a problem. Like I don't think she would go after. She may get someone else in her life. I would just be a single guy. I would just take it. On a serious note, why do people like conspiracies? I can entertain some ones, but some of them are wild. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a behaviorist, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn once. So, QAnon was, yeah, and they still will bring that up, like the Pizzagate thing. Wow. Eating children in a pizza place in a basement that this pizza place had no basement. Guy says, Linda and I grew up next door to each other, didn't get married until we were 60. Yeah, and those that get remarried like in their 80s and that, I guess that's okay. I don't know. As an outsider, mate, sorry, what's QAnon? Oh, you'd have to look it up, Donnie. I couldn't even. So, it's like this conspiracy thing. It's one of the groups that helped push Trump into the office because they believed he would do something. But they had this one guy that is a self-proclaimed shaman and goes around. You might have seen pictures of him with a painted face and a bull's head with horns, or one of these furry hats with horns, and just weird ass shit. Weird. Some conspiracies are real. The CIA gave conspiracies a bad name. That's possible. I mean, governments and all that. Is it as deep as it is claimed to be? Like the dark, the the, the deep government or whatever the fuck they call it. That's so, but what I think spurs it on is again this um format, this environment, not environment, but this people get drawn to negativity, you know, like I want someone to suffer because I'm suffering, and whether they believe in that, what that cause is, it doesn't matter. People are suffering, and I think people just like to be trolls, and those that really do their stream or videos on that, and they feel empowered by the people that watch them, right? And they get drawn into that. um it's easy to get in and hard to get out, but even these, I do I think what our leader is doing here is right and all that? No. Has there been anything good? I don't see it, but I don't also see the horrible left, the left, doing anything. I don't think it would be worse. Definitely don't think we would be in any wars right now. I don't get it, but um I love it when you bring up something about the president and they go, well, "What about Biden?" Well, Biden, you know what? Oh, it's like picking on your mom or something like that, you know? Well, you could pick on my mom. My mom's dead. Biden, is not president anymore. People you refuse to believe simple answers, yes, and I generally don't get left or right wing. I think both are mental. Yeah, it's a especially in a democratic society where it's supposed to be a balance, and yes, you try to work things in for the people, and that just doesn't happen. One of my Australian buddies had told me that there is a lot of Chinese, like Australia is thought of as this nice open country and all that, but they have their, not as bad maybe as America at times, but um a lot of Chinese are moving back to China because it's the economy is doing so much better, and it's a better standard of living, believe it or not. But we'll never hear that over here. Guy's gonna start with really deep conspiracies here. How many people really think Oswald shot JFK? The evidence that didn't happen is overwhelming. So people stop believing anything the government says. I don't think you can stop believing anything. I don't think it's everything that they say. It's not so much the government as it's the people. There are people that have agendas, and some agendas are bad. Some agendas are just bad. What is it said? Good, like in good intentions. Um, Good intentions are the road to is the road to evil or something like that. Buddy of mine says that quite often, and that we do things out of good intentions. There you go. Thank you, JJ. Something like that. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's what I got you guys for. But yeah, I mean, there are times I don't want I'll watch, you know, well, I'll let Guy answer that because Guy has an interesting story to tell. I would hate to think that this whole universe, and the whole idea of the flat earth is that God made this for us, you know. We're in a petri dish, a domed environment, and everything else is just um crazy. But to think that this vast universe and we're the only ones, but so I mean, what do you guys do to try to get out of a stuck hole? I know some people just keep digging in and digging in and digging in. Um, I don't know what they're afraid of to admit or that they're wrong or whatever, but you know what? I just will tune out. I'll work on this stuff. Um, I will I watch a lot of repair videos, or I'm loving watching this young lady on YouTube, Tia Weston. She's working on her second house that she's remodeling, kind of, and not doing it contractor wise. Guy had a triangular UFO bigger than a C-130. Yeah, I've heard about that here outside of Chicago. I don't think there were really any specific drones back, like really good drones back in '94. That's a more recent phenomena, but um well, let's go back to, let's go back to 1938 when Orson Welles did the radio version of War of the Worlds that supposedly caused a lot of panic because it was if have anybody has anybody ever had a chance to listen to Orson Welles the radio broadcast of War of the Worlds? If you haven't, I say go find it. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube or online or something like that. And it is a well-produced radio program from the late 30s about War of the Worlds, and supposedly caused a lot of panic. Like out in New Jersey, people shot up a water tower because they thought it was the one of the tripods walking through. And that's what the government will cite. We don't want that panic. Now, my dad remembers he was a young man when he was listening to that, and he listened to that. He said what he did is he turned the radio station to another news station, and there was nothing on the radio about this, so he knew what it was. So it was a radio broadcast of War of the Worlds by Orson Welles. Now I'm a bit of I love old radio programs, um, The Shadow and all that. And I got to see a couple years back. My wife and I, we're big fans of It's a Wonderful Life. So we went to a play of this radio station from the 30s doing It's a Wonderful Life, and they're doing it as the play, and all the sound effects in that they use, the natural stuff in that was just amazing. Let's see, they have it. Looks like they have it on Spotify, and I'm sure you could probably find it on the Internet Archives. And if I just I like theater of the mind, you know, it's great seeing fantastic, um, you know, well put together movies, but like radio broadcasts, the old radio, the old, you know, The Shadow and all that stuff, the Green Hornet, you know, I Lone Ranger, I loved a lot of that stuff when I was younger, and I had a little bit of a collection going. Um, but you can read about it. Just do Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. Um, but this supposedly caused a panic back then. Again, my dad said, "Oh, I just turned the radio channel and there was nothing else on." And if you listened from the very beginning, you knew it was a radio program. Guy says, "I feel terrible for people who have not seen a UFO close up. I mean, it kind of reveals the extent of which we do get bullshitted." Yeah. Yeah, it's not me, it's you, right? Or it's not you, it's me. Boom, boom, boom. So they did a, you know, a specific style with it. And a regular musical program was interrupted by news flashes and that, you know. Um, the format was highly convincing, mimicking the on-scene reporting styles of actual journalists of the area. And because many listeners tuned in late and missed the initial disclaimer that the show was a fictional play, some took the broadcast to be real. This resulted in widespread confusion with reports of frightened citizens jamming switchboards and taking to the roads and that. But it's pretty good. No one's going to invent a UFO sighting. Yeah. So on that, you know, so look at what we do to each other on this planet. So like my wife, you know, like when I was um, into The Walking Dead, you know, she goes, why do you watch that?" I said, I watch it. Actually, it was pretty good. It got a little bit too much towards the end, and then all the other sequels and that, you know. But I said it's not so much the horror of the zombies; it's the horror of what we do to each other. And just look, well, we got a little bit of a taste back during the pandemic. Now, I worked in retail, and at that time, I had just got off of a leave of absence because of my back. It went back to work just in time to start, and the wiping out of the shelves, especially toilet paper, and people just, you know, threatening each other, coming to the, you know, I don't know if anybody, no one showed a gun at my store, but you know, I've heard stories. That was just a taste. That was a little itty bitty taste. You've never even liked sci-fi, never even seen 5 minutes of Star Trek. You have a bachelor's of science and remodel houses. I had no interest. Yeah, I mean, even some naturally just don't get into that. We all have our own interests in that. If there are aliens, they stop by for a second and said, "Oh, fuck this place," and moved on. Uh, Danny, Nova Charter tried to start that last week. I watched the first episode of Starfleet Academy yesterday. I don't. I guess I'm gonna have to watch a couple more episodes. I guess it's gonna be okay. But we all have like experiences in that are um change our views. But um, like I said, when I just like I'll watch remodeling of houses or these. Actually, what I'll watch is these guys that go out in the middle of the forest and built these beautiful huts and all that stuff, or campsites and that. Did I watch TWD all the way? TWD? Am I gonna? That's um. Oh, The Walking Dead. Um, I remember when it first started, and I may have watched an episode or two. And I know AMC had the after program. That's how popular it was. But I didn't get into it. One weekend we had a camp outing with the Boy Scouts, and I don't really sleep during these real well, the camp outs and that. And I came home and we unpacked all our stuff, and I crashed on the couch and I had AMC on, and they were doing a full marathon of The Walking Dead. And then I watched it for a number of years. And then recently I tried watching The Walking Dead with the Daryl version. I tried watching the kind of prequel Fear the Walking Dead, which kind of sort of not did show the beginning of the zombie pandemic, but you still didn't know where it came from. I don't know if we still do. Um, but even that, has run. I think it's run its course. And now they have these darts that make zombies into these super zombies, but yet zombies don't have a blood system. I don't know. Anybody watch Age of Disclosure? Admirals, congressmen, instead of saying UFOs and aliens are real, people are just freaked out to even listen. Yeah. Yeah. You probably won't be seeing a UFO. You'll be seeing maybe you won't see the fry pan. But then like I'll watch some of these um survival kind of like things. And um I just, it brings out the kid in me. We're building a fort out in the forest. Yeah, she's right with the topic, I could imagine. Um But then my feed on YouTube is like everybody's channel that does that. And I'm like, I only want to watch a couple of these things, and I start, don't recommend this channel, don't recommend this channel, don't recommend this channel. And then for relaxation, there's always the cat videos or the pet videos or whatever. So, to move on to the next fight, though, Donnie, who hasn't mentioned it yet, last week said Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. And I told him to bring his boxing gloves today. Even my wife, and he's willing to die on that hill. Got Christmas music. It's got a Christmas tree. Ho, ho, ho. Now I got a machine gun too. That's Christmas. To me, there's two reasons why things like that would be denied. One, we'd lose our place in the world. Like, we would be subjugated. Two, we wouldn't need the people leading us because they would be bringing prosperity to us, right? But yeah. Yeah, I mean, two types of panic happens there, guy. We panic because we're being invaded, or we panic because, or actually, maybe the leaders panic because we don't need them because they come in peace. Don't worry about it. You think I type any better, and I haven't?
Steve, someone has joined the chat on YouTube.
The Cyber Gizmo. We'll check him out on YouTube. What's up?
Steve, someone has joined the chat on Twitch.
Hello, Thailand.
What panic is it today? Every panic. What's up? Andy, who's all over Twitch. Andy, I made some pork schnitzel yesterday. It was wunderbar, as my son said. Yep, you're right, guy. They would. Like the Spanish Inquisition. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. That's why I need a Monty Python thing, right? The when they would do the Spanish Inquisition. Something like that on Monty Python. Now we're just talking all sorts of shit here, Andy. So how have you been, DJ? Good to see you here. You'd like this as your welcome alert? That's my next step. That's now that I have my shout outs sorted out, the beginning part, now I can start customizing. Guy loves Monty Python. Yeah. You know, and to tell the truth on Monty Python, so here in the States, here in Chicago, and on Sundays, we're going back to like the late, it might have been on longer than that. Pre-cable, we're talking like, so when I start dating my one girlfriend, like 78 or so. And just TV, there's no cable, right? There's no 24-hour news. You know, internet is a shell of a thing, and you know, no one is really on it unless you're in a college, right? Or the military. Um, but especially on a Sunday night, programming on a Sunday night, because they probably figured people were going to bed early because they were going to go to work the next day. And I would be changing a channel, or I would look through the TV guide. Remember the TV guide? And I'd see Monty Python's Flying Circus. And I'm like, why would I want to watch a circus, right? So I would actually on Sunday nights I also have episodes of Doctor Who. I had started watching Doctor Who at that time. And it was I think right after, because it was a little more of a late night thing, they would show, it was like I just left it on, and because that was the way that it was back then, you know, there was no, we didn't have a remote or anything like that. And watching Monty Python, and especially so PBS is a public broadcasting station, and they would, you know, show some things with some slight nudity in that. And what was Carol? What was the only female actress on the show? Carol, what? All of a sudden she comes out naked. I'm like, and that's the only episode that she or was there any nudity, except for a couple of the guys. So I started watching Monty Python, hoping to see more nudity, and never had any more after that. But yeah, I learned, you know, about Monty Python that way, and that. Um, Put him in the comfy chair. Oh yeah, you know, and Holy Grail is just such a classic, you know. Um, I mean, they all pretty are. We we watched. Actually, my wife, she picked up Life of Brian, and we all watched Life of Brian. But bring out your dad. I'm not dead yet. I feel fine. I feel happy. I am. Carol Cleveland. Thanks, Donnie. Yeah, Carol Cleveland. Oh yeah, and I mean WLS AM radio reached far and wide. Being an AM radio station, there was that they had a 60-watt or whatever, and Larry Lujak. Hey, little Tommy. Oh, and the occasional animal story. Look at DJ. He knows his stuff. Oh my gosh, yeah. Was it a simpler time not having 24-hour news? And there's no doubt that the internet has changed us forever. Let's just cut to the movie and I'll watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Yeah, I've been a fan of Doctor Who for a long time. Of course, when I started watching it, um, I it was the start of the Tom Baker era, and Tom Baker was um the ultimate Doctor Who at the time. He was number 4. But then I started watching, they started playing the earlier versions. You know, the first Doctor Who, William Hartnett, right? Was that who played the first Doctor Who? I don't think I really watched any of those episodes. But then the second and third Doctor Who, you know, moving on to Pertwee. Who watched Gotham? And I know this guy, the actor's been on a lot of stuff, but who watched the series Gotham on Fox? It was on for a few years about Gotham before Batman. And the butler that played Alfred was the son of the third Doctor Who. So Doctor Who and Batman have a connection. I guess it was pretty good. So it was like um it had Gordon in it, who was just a police sergeant or whatever at the time. And it was like the early start of what would become of the Penguin and the Joker and all that. And some of that was pretty decent. Um, I can't say that I watched it religiously. I would see an episode here and there. And that's what, I'm used to, show me Batman, show me Superman, show me Spider-Man, whatever. But, don't show me stuff that happened maybe before, or what would eventually lead up to their superhero powers or stuff like that. Or, like just the bad guys. And I don't get it. David Tennant, Matt Smith, um, two of the, probably well-loved doctors. Um, Donnie DC versus Marvel. Whoa. So I was watching it irreligiously. I would catch an episode here and there of Gotham. I would watch it a little bit more when I learned that Moreno Baccarin was in it, who eventually married the guy that played Gordon. What the heck is Doctor Who? Guy, go back to bed. Doctor Who is the longest running sci-fi program on any type of TV network ever. Matt Smith was okay, but Peter, I thought I see. I've liked all the doctors, even the last one, Jenna Coleman. Jenna Coleman, you clever girl. Yeah, the early Doctor Who's were all, on stage and like all the aliens spoke English, British English. That was always the funny part, I thought. And then um oh, I can't say that I liked all the doctors. So after Baker left, then it was oh, there were like three doctors there that really um boom, 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 boom. Peter Davison. He has always been a really good actor, but those were okay. And then you had Colin Baker. I didn't particularly like him. Um let's see. There was a movie with Peter McGon that played a doctor, version of it. Andy, you tried to redeem a Gigantify emote? Did I get something there, Andy? Andy, you're something else. Um, so I think it was kind of like after Colin Baker that it disappeared for a while, and then they brought it back with Christopher Eccleston, who I thought he played like a pretty rough and probably the most sarcastic Doctor Who, but then he didn't realize the popularity, the history of Doctor Who, and he left after a year. But then that era brought us Billy Piper as Rose, Bad Wolf. But then productions got better, and they didn't have these weird sets and all that. Um, but now weren't they? They did a brief where Tennant came back for a short time. I even like Jodie Whittaker. The fan base out there attacked her for being Doctor. And the fucking comments were, we should now call this Nurse Who. Oh, wait, there's never been a female doctor? Fucking morons. I swear. Misogynistic bastards. She played it pretty good. I think she did a pretty decent job, Andy. The thing about Doctor Who now, especially I think after more roughly with Tom Baker, it became a little more quirky. And there's very few actors, I think, out there that can play quirky naturally. Yeah, the next actor was black and also gay, and they topped the female enragement with that. Yeah, I thought he did a good job. I I thought he did a good job. You know, and now they, who's going to be the next Doctor, and is it going to come back? I think there's been some like Doctor Who and Star Trek crossover, maybe more in a game, but I think it was mentioned or somehow something was mentioned in a Strange New Worlds episode. But yeah, Doctor Who, I eh, you either love it or hate it. But I do. I'll watch some of the older like John Pertwee episodes. The BBC confirmed the show will continue. I think it did lose a little when Moffat and um what's his name? I know what when Moffat and Mark Gatiss was kind of doing it. Um I think most of the episodes was with like that was written by Russell T Davies were pretty decent. Moffat and Gaddis had taken it a little bit a different direction. Like the earlier writers don't particularly know about, but Moffat and Gatiss have kind of like come into a new realm. I mean, Gatiss was in, he played Sherlock's brother, Mycroft, in with Benedict Cumberbatch, and he's been in a lot of good stuff. Moffat did I guess it was a one season um series called The Inside Man with John Tucci, and that was pretty good. That was pretty interesting. Stanley Tucci, not John Tucci. I'm an idiot. You like the old cheesy 50s and 60s sci-fi movies? Um, Invasion from Mars, Killdozer. Hey, I like I go, like with Gene Barry, the War of the Worlds, and then Forbidden Planet. That is like one of my all-time favorites. But my all-time favorite is The Day the Earth Stood Still. And how simple but how far advanced it was making that movie. You have all those on a hard drive? Yeah, in the 60s, I remember them being on TV. Forbidden Planet, War of the Worlds. The Day the Earth Stood Still, and then The Time Machine. The Thunderbirds. DJ says the Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds are go. Yeah, Cyber Gizmo and I are too far apart in age. Um, Cyber, remember Fireball XL5? Did I get into the X-Files for a few years? That was again another one of those everybody was get I don't get into things that everybody else kind of gets into. Tennant is the wife. Tennant's wife is a daughter of Moffat, not the producer, though her father is Peter Moffat, aka Peter Davison, the Fifth Doctor. Okay. I guess they're supposedly working on bringing back X-Files. I thought the ending was kind of sucked, but yeah, I've hardly ever seen episodes except maybe some in reruns of some of the sitcoms here. I saw just one single episode of X-Files, kind of like the Twilight Zone episode. There was some humorous stuff, there was some interesting stuff in the X-Files. Play the theme music, and my nephew, when he was little, would do this really weird dance. Call it the X-File dance. I don't know where it came from. Yeah, there's a lot of bizarre stuff in the X-Files. I don't know if they can um bring back that magic, so to speak. But yeah, Cyber, but Fireball XL5. I had the toy Fireball XL5. It was pretty big. I had none of the Thunderbird stuff, but I thought the Thunderbird's crafts were pretty interesting. When Jonathan Frakes tried to do the Thunderbirds movie, special effects in that were good, but it was too kid oriented. You don't mean this to be a hot take, but do you think Shawshank Redemption is a bit overrated? It's a good movie. I never read the book, so like a couple of the characters are different. I thought the movie was pretty decent. Uh, I don't know about overrated. I think it's a good movie. I can understand that guy. But yeah, in the 60s I had you know, uh um what did I have? Oh, they also had a model. You can see it, find it online, of the uh was it called the Nautilus? It was a toy submarine. It was more white, but then it had a bluish see-through cover over it that you could see all the crew and the different parts of the department, and would shoot missiles and torpedoes. That's the world I come from. Oh, probably no different than someone being uncomfortable watching those guys, and no different than someone that like from our military and sitting there watching war movies. Sure, many can, but there's many that can't. You remember a submarine TV show called Steve? Well, it was remember Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which they've talked about bringing back. I've rewatched several episodes. They have them on YouTube. When they started going a little bit towards monsters and things like that, it kind of went out the window. But they've been talking about bringing it back. Hogan Hero, what Hogan's Heroes? That was only on for what, a year? Let's see. Oh, I didn't. I never realized. I thought like Hogan's Heroes was a one and done show. It went 6 seasons. Did you know, guy, that F Troop was one of the top rated TV shows of that era? And the network killed it because it was too smart. But F Troop had they almost got it past the censors. The Indian tribe, the Hakawis. You know what their original name was? The Fakawis, which is short for where the fuck are we? And some sense, someone on the censor board goes, wait a minute. It was a very shot. Yeah, it was too smart. So they did a lot of comedy where the Sarge would say something to the corporal, and it would be a jab. We would be making a verbal jab at him, and it'd be like 5 minutes later, all of a sudden the corporal gets the jab, and they're in the middle of another scene, and he goes, he reacts to it. But yeah, so the Indian F Troop was for fucked up troop. Did you know Calamity Jane, the actress, that was the love interest for the captain? Did you know she was only 16 when that was being made? The mother and the actress that played Calamity Jane, finally thought it would, they came right before the episode started airing, they are filming or whatever. The mother said, my daughter's only 16, and they're like, but instead of firing her, what they did, they liked her so much in that role that they changed it from the captain kind of courting her, which if it got out that she was a 16-year-old wouldn't be right. They turned it to where they never said her age, but she acted like a 16-year-old that had, that um try to all like she tried to always get the captain's attention, but he always was like, because he was stupid. But yeah, F Troop was killed because one, networks didn't want to do westerns much anymore. And I guess the production value was pretty high for a western, a half-hour western. And especially when I think it started out in black and white, then they moved it to color. And did they start doing hour episodes? I don't think so, but I'd have to look it up. But that they had one of the characters that was kind of blind, had the thick glasses and all that, and he was actually blind. There's a lot about that show that really, I mean, I don't remember. I think I might have watched some of it when it was on before it went into syndication, but watched a lot of it during syndication. But yeah, they changed the Fakawi tribe to the Hakawi tribe, which then the Hakawi kind of stood for uh how did we get I forget. Let's see. Okay, it was my bad. Wrangler Jane was her. So it ran from 65 to 67, only 2 years. So the actress Melody Patterson, who played the action-oriented Wrangler Jane, lied about her age to land the part. She was only 15 years old when she auditioned and began filming the first season. They used a fake birth certificate to pass as a legal adult. Here we go. Where the heck are we? The tribe living near Fort Courage was called the Hekawis. This was a network-friendly substitute for the writer's original rejected name, the Fagawi tribe, a play on Where the Fagawi, or Where the Fuck Are We, which was considered too risque for 60s television. Ken Berry did it. Yeah, I had watched this thing on it. Ken Berry had did his own stunts. He was a dancer, a background in professional dancing, and all the trips and falls and it was all him. Um, all the Indians, of course, typical American. None of them were uh, Native Americans. Oh yeah, Star Trek. Oh my God, the networks. Having a African American woman, a black woman on, and then the kissing scene, where these powerful aliens made Kirk and her kiss. Oh my God, that was oh no 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 no. And now you're into the future of Star Trek, where Star Trek Academy has its first gay Klingon. Oh, too woke, too woke. So what does Paramount Plus do? Kills all Star Trek right now. They're moneymaker, and they kill all Star Trek right now. And then despite healthy ratings during its second season, the show was abruptly canceled. Corporate changes at Warner Brothers caused studio executive to deem the show a waste of space, as the massive outdoor sets for Fort Courage were taking up too much of the studio's California backlot. And you could go on and on about networks and all that. It's all about like everything else. It's all about money and that. But F Troop was Larry Stork and um what was his name? Oh, and they did some indirect references that were made to the cultures of the 60s, such as the Play Brave Club instead of the Playboy Club. You like Steve because he's a rigid communist like you? I wouldn't say that was it. I would say I lean more towards socialism these days, but and not in a bad way. Um so Forrest Tucker, he was that wasn't him. Who was it? That's not a picture of Forrest Tucker. You got Larry Stort, that's right. Ken Berry. It was Melody Patterson, 16 years old. I never knew that back then, but boy, she was a yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's an old picture of Forrest Tucker. But yeah, a show above its time. Like like Hogan's Heroes, but Hogan Hero, I didn't realize that lasted 6 years. Everything, yeah, everything is about money. I mean, it's okay to be all about money if it also helps others. Reminds you of MASH. MASH was I didn't watch it in the beginning. I started watching it when it went into syndication. And once I got hooked, the writing of MASH was something else. It touched a lot of um it touched a lot of subjects, but I think it's been said it's been actually accurately portrayed of people in wartime situations trying to have a bit of a normal life while they're in this and some of the peculiarities that go on. That got a good word? I think and I think like what especially what's long, you can like use Star Trek, the original Star Trek, the episodes were okay. But then comes like, years later, Star Trek The Next Generation. That first season or so of Star Trek The Next Generation was not that good. But then you go from starting with the third season to seventh season, it was pretty strong. And it was the same way with uh Deep Space Nine and Voyager. I know a lot of people there's a lot of out there that didn't like Voyager. But again, after about the second season of Voyager, that was really strong. It took a little bit for the writers to get it, but Next Generation had some very good episodes. One of my favorite episodes is yesterday's Enterprise. And going back, I MASH. I think MASH was different. MASH started out strong. He had the real good actors, but then actors were, they changed. Uh, some actors dropped out and things like that. The last couple years of MASH, not that good. I don't think they were that good. And then they tried to do the sequel after MASH, where the MASH units like the Colonel and Radar and all that were in a small Midwest town running a hospital or something like that. That didn't do too well. Voyager got better over time. Struggled with it at first until the yeah. I think in all maybe now like I think Strange New World has started out strong and was really well. Discover because that was kind of Discovery, Star Trek Discovery. The first year of that, because they did a lot of different things, they made Klingons different and all that. But then after the second season on, got a little bit stronger and the writing got better. I was so mad. I started watching it mainly because Jason Isaacs was. I really like Jason Isaacs. He is such a good actor. He can play so many different roles. And I was mad that he ended up being kind of like the bad guy. Guys, is the thing about MASH, like All in the Family, that was the same message over and over. Yeah, some of the MASH, no, I mean MASH. There one of the most outstanding uh episodes that I remember from MASH is Hawkeye was having nightmares after something had happened. And every time he has this dream, you learn more about what had happened. And the nightmare was about this woman strangling a chicken. And you're like, why is he having nightmares about that? And as I don't know who he's talking to and more about the dreams, you learn that they had saved some uh Koreans, I believe. They were in a bus and they were near the DMZ and the North Koreans troop was near them and they were trying to be as quiet as possible and a woman had her baby with her and she couldn't keep the baby quiet and it turns out the mother strangled or suffocated the baby so they would all survive. And you're like, holy fuck. Holy fuck. That episode really hit the mark, like with war and stuff like that. That's what MASH was about, you know. And all the little silly humor stuff that they did was just to try to survive. And then All in the Family, you know, the um was pretty much about the growing of Archie from this somewhat white racist or seemed to be white racist New Yorker to someone who learned about the world late in life, you know. To me, there's too many, you know, like those kind of sitcoms, and they call them a sitcom. I don't know why, but um uh have a lot of messages. There's many sitcoms that try to put a message in their jokes and all that stuff, but um yeah. You thought that was the same jokes over and over? Well, So many shows, so many writers. Not everybody could be a good writer. Excuse me. And that. But what else? What else? I like a lot of old movies. I grew up with my dad on Sunday afternoon watching some of these old movies. I mean, they're really old now. That kidney you got, Archie, is from a black man in a hardware store. I have a Roku TV, and the Roku movie channels are pretty decent. And um, I like it's a aggregator. Is that what they would call it? DJ, if you're still out there, like where they grab these movies from these free networks and all that. But was watching, if you're a baseball fan here in the States, even if you've ever seen the movie Pride of the Yankees about Joe about Lou Gehrig with Gary Cooper, one of my favorite movies. The White Sox. White Sox are doing pretty good. They sweep the Cubs, man. Knock the Cubs out of first place. But it takes place, in the late 20s. 1927 was the year of the Yankees. Man, they had for years one of the best American baseball teams ever. Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, they had Murderers Row. And Lou Gehrig was just coming up. A typical, 30s style movie, is it 100% factual? I don't believe so, but it's just I like Gary Cooper, and just a really good movie. And the thing about Pride of the Yankees, you think about Lou Gehrig, was that it's called the Lou Gehrig disease, ALS. People had it, but he kind of brought it because he was such he played over how many 2,100 and something baseball games in a row before ALS took him out. But the movies, I like those. I like the Thin Man series. And there's one other. How about My Man Godfrey? I like a lot of the older movies. You played Danny Boy for Sparky Anderson one night. He leaned over my piano and said, "Hey, buddy, can you play Danny Boy?" But I said I like a lot of older movies still. Something about the good but simplistic nature of the movies. Or let's see, Casablanca. That's up at the top. I don't know what I did with it. I think I loaned it to someone once. I had a book that had the complete script for the movie Casablanca with Humphrey Bogart. But that's on the top of my list. Or the Maltese Falcon. So you played Danny Boy for Sparky Anderson. Was that when he was the manager of the Reds or when he was a ball player? Oh yeah, the Maltese Falcon is a classic. Um, Bogey at his best, one of his best. Do you know why Bogey always went like this? You know, when he was talking, he was always wiping the corners of his mouth. It wasn't a character thing. He had such a bad tummy. He would have a lot of antacids, and he was always afraid of the white from the antacid getting the corners of his mouth. You know that? My story about Humphrey Bogart. At Ginopoli's restaurant, Farmington Hills, Michigan. Is that where you were? Okay. And the funny part, you didn't even know how to play a piano. No. One of the stores I worked at for God, for quite a number of years. I thought I was going to retire from this store. There was an Italian restaurant right next to it, and I guess a relatively popular Italian restaurant that the owner, you know, who would the Los Angeles Dodgers manager for years. He would go there quite often. Or from the Mets, was it Mike Piazza? I've met I met a few of celebrities when they've been over at that restaurant because they would stop off at the store getting their antacids. Outside of meeting, I can't say I've really met many, if any, celebrities. I did meet Ernie Banks a couple times, first baseman for the Chicago Cubs during the 60s and in the 70s. Did over 500 home runs in his career. Two were at a grand opening, and then one was he stopped in the store and was shopping. He would talk to anybody. But one time I was on at the store I was at in Bloomingdale. I was actually on vacation, but we were really short-handed, and I went in to help take off our warehouse truck on a Saturday. And I had walked out of the stock room, and I run into Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney was in the area. Talk about a character. I'm like, he had left his blood pressure medicine at home and needed to get a refill. You checked into a Ramada Inn in Laneham one night, and Muhammad Ali and his whole entourage checked in. One of the stores I was at on the east side of Chicago, in Hyde Park area. That's where that's the University of Chicago and some University of Chicago Hospital and all that. It bordered on, like, it was right off of the Lakeshore, like Lakeshore Drive, Hyde Park, and all that. And Muhammad Ali, he never came in when I was there, but I guess I heard stories from all the people that worked there, of Muhammad Ali coming in and the kids from the neighborhood running in and all that. and apparently he came in with his fur coat and he threw it to the girl in the liquor department. And she threw it back at him and said, "You wear your own, you take care of your own damn coat." But you saw a YouTube capture of an old Red Skelton show where he and Spencer Tracy are trying to dance, to outdance one another while dancing on a long, slippery table. Cassius Clay Selena, would you get up and sing with us every night? The tunes were My Way and for the good times. Got to meet Joe Louis. Ooh. Now everybody's a celebrity, right? Everybody wants to want to be. I know one of these days I still have aspirations to get DJ's autograph. But yeah, let's see. Have I met? Yeah, I can't remember if I've met any other celebrities that way. But yeah, I was, working in a drugstore that is across the country, run into possible good chances of meeting people. You're famous to me, DJ. Cyber Gizmo does a lot of Linuxy stuff, and he's got some really good videos, and he gets down and deep if you want to learn about some Linux stuff, and he's truthful. He doesn't hype up Linux like a lot of people do. Doesn't put it down too much, but doesn't hype it up. I recently ran into like it was last week, last Tuesday. What was that one? That was Wednesday. I was on Linux, and uh I was having I pretty much diagnosed it to being a power source issue in that. And I use a Samsung S8 as my webcam. It's I use Droidcam to run it. And all of a sudden my camera would go out, all of a sudden I disappear and I look at the phone and it would say uh Droidcam is overheating, we're shutting it down, to save the unit. I'm like, and the phone was really hot. Well, I got done streaming. I ended up streaming off of what was it? I was doing my two side cameras, ended up doing the stream that way. And then when I got done, I just did a regular shutdown of the system, but then when we booted back in, I was getting into Arch's emergency mode. And it turns out, I just had to do FSCK manually, and then I got back in. But I do most of my stuff on Windows. Major Tom to ground control. But check out CyberGizmo. But since I put in my power unit was actually about 10 years old because I've replaced a motherboard in this, and I've got a new RTX 4060. And I had started having little issues where I thought it was because I was hitting the mic would go out, but then when the mic went out, the mouse would stop working. I'm like, why would that happen? And I'd have to unplug the mic and plug it back in, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. I think that was just like the indications that there wasn't enough power going to the USB ports. So because on Windows and Linux, I use the same system for both. All of a sudden, my monitors would just go. They would still be on, but they would go blank. OBS would die, but everything else would still, like if I had music going, I'd still hear the music and all that. Steve, will you make me breakfast? I'm an old man. No, make it yourself. I can smell my wife's got the bacon going. I'm getting hungry. So I did a number of online calculators of I put in my motherboard, my memory, my graphics card, my CPU, how many I use 3 SSDs and I got a hard drive backup. And it would all say that on that system, even because it's a 4060, and I bought the 4060 because it's not your really top end, RTX card, but it was perfect for my needs. So I can do background removal. NVIDIA background removal is so good. Although I take a picture of the background and it's always lighter than live. I don't get it. I think you might take out omelets. That sounds good. Maybe I'll make an omelet sandwich. So anyway, most of the calculators recommended that a 500 watts or so would work fine, but I bought a 650 watt. I already had a 500 watt in there. Yes, it was 10 years old. And I bought a Chinese one. Chinese. I bought a Seiko Dep. Quiet. So, oops, wrong camera. So here's my PC right here, right? I have 2 fans up front here. But I can't hear the power source at all. It's quieter than it's ever been. And it's working really well. And now, no real power issues. It seems like everything's running is so much better. I just hope with some of the power stuff that it doesn't screw up anything in the near future. I could have gone with a higher power unit, but I don't think that if I hope to do this for quite a while, to keep doing this. But I turned 70 this year, But any other further upgrades is going to be a new PC. You think so? I think let's see. I think so right now I have a laptop. It's not off the laptop, but I do a laptop here to monitor the scene. I have my camera sitting on top of it. So this thing is blowing hot. Wow. So if I turn it this way, there we go. So I have a 25-inch monitor. I built the 17-inch monitor. I built it out of an old laptop, a 17.5-inch monitor. Bought a controller for it. So it looks nice until you look at it up closely. And I built the frame kind of shitty, but it works. And this is a 27-inch monitor. And then I have 2 tablets I use as control decks. So this one controls all the scenes in OBS. It's using Touch Portal. And this one does things like I can run controls from my streamer bot. My USB mic, my Samsung S8. and this is from this way, a better view. It doesn't work in the sea, Andy. You blew it. This laptop I use just to monitor the stream. I don't have it on the system. Here, let's make Andy happy. There you go, Andy. Just because you got jump scared by the alert before? Which one? Which alert? But I built the desk. Here's so here's my setup. It's an IKEA countertop, not a desktop. It's like over an inch and a quarter thick. The drawer I made, I took the hardware off my old setup and just made a drawer, a bigger shelf for it. The legs are from Amazon. They're metal legs. My wife likes the fact that no cords are on the ground and that. I thinking of a way to kind of cover it up from underneath, but you don't see it much. I bought a floating shelf. It's an IKEA floating shelf. I've got to change a little. I added more stuff to it, and then that's a floating wall unit, shelf unit. That I bought a couple more shelves for it for the inner part. My printer, my turntable on there.
Steve, someone has joined the chat on Twitch.
Nova Chata from Boston. I hear a meteor crashed near Boston Harbor or something like that, yes? So that is much better than I used to have. I mean, the desk I had was so cramped. And back in the day when I used 3 laptops and a desktop to stream. Those were the days. That's what you hear too, Nova? You didn't? Yeah, I seen a brief say, I didn't read the article, but something about a meteor that hit outside of Boston near the harbor. The Nova Charter is a fellow Twitch streamer. He has a very nice Twitch stream that is very friendly, plays games, has a lot of Star Trek stuff. He loves Star Trek. He's got a dog named Spock. Check out Nova. Well, most of the world is probably watching or over at TwitchCon EU in Rotterdam. Oh, Spock started barking for no apparent. Yeah, it's very possible. Or he felt it. Yeah, mine used to be a disaster, DJ. Let me find my image. I should keep a specific folder for my tech stuff, so I have a, it's easy to go to. Oh, I have my garden planted. I got to take a picture of it though. I have to go too deep to Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's see. Well, this is not relatively current, but I have about. Hold on. Hold on. Ah, here we go. So here, DJ, this was my setup, or was my setup. This desk was only 32 inches apart. Again, I took the hardware. I used the hardware on this, and all. I used some pieces of the wood from this, but this all went in the garbage. So I had my desktop, my tablet. Oh, that's that's a rug that my mother-in-law had crocheted at my life. And yes, I would move stuff around and always mess it up. But I used 3 laptops, my desktop, my tablet for my control deck. So this laptop ran Windows 10, which I ran StreamerBot off of because it was working okay in Linux, but there was some. Yeah, you like the mess? I put a webcam up here with the light behind it. So this one was running StreamerBot. This would run my StreamerBot action, and it had OBS on it. So all these were running through Teleport together. This one is actually what I would use to play my Wii U. I couldn't get, and it might turn out that was part of a power issue. I'm gonna have to try my HDMI to USB capture card again on my PC. But I got it to work on this laptop using Linux Mint. So I would run the game through here. And then this one I just had as my music station running, trying to keep things light. But yeah, this was my setup, and this is another view. And this is my game station, which I actually have over here now. It's got all our games on it. It's got a Switch and Switch 2 and Wii U, and then like 4 retro game stations in it. So this was my setup. And now, as you've seen it, my setup is like this. Works pretty well. So happy, And I had donations over the years from Patreon that I never pulled out. I finally pulled it out, and I had enough money to put together for a new desk system and all that. Cost wise for the desk, the top, the legs, the cabinets, and all that. Oh, excuse me. Was about I'll say around $300, maybe 350. I originally was gonna buy wood and start putting together my own desk, and I'm like, why am I doing that? I've been wanting to do that, but I needed to get I have to get some new saw blades and stuff like that I didn't feel like spending. And then the walls are painted a espresso bean brown. And then my wife, she's like, okay, do what do what you want. It's gonna be your room. But she goes, can we do something for me? And I'm like, sure, we can do something for you. And we have this area. So we have a crawl space. So uh what is a closet now would actually, if we had a basement, would lead down to the basement. And it's a good size. So it was like more of a storage, and that's where the trap door is to get into the crawl space too. So this is what the closet area looks like. So you can see, it's the stairs that lead upstairs and all that. And it was just a catch-all where we threw stuff in. Um, there was a hanger shelf here. We could use it as a hanging closet and that. And I built these hangers for actually I built these hangers up in the upper right hand corner for my son's black belts. So we cleaned it out. And the water meter there and that. I made a box for it. Whoops. So I bought this folding desk cabinet for my wife. She wanted a nice green wall, so we painted it and then built a box to cover the thing. So this is my wife's space, and this is kind of the end unit. We've added some lights in here and stuff, but now this is her cubicle. I told her I would make a desk on the back wall, which would give it a little bit more room, but she didn't want her back facing the door. So, and then we can put down the shelf if we need to, and this is where the trap door is for the crawl space. So I built my wife her own little room. I'm thinking of taking a door and seeing if I can find a relatively inexpensive inner door that might have for a glass and do a frosted glass and put her name on there for her office. Kind of make it look neat and that. But yeah, this is so much better. I don't think, it's not great. Here's the door to the hallway and then the closet. The background is not too much. So as you can see, so I have just two windows in this room, and that faces the southwest. So that gets all the sun. So I can't have those open. So I was thinking of putting a desk on this wall, but then that would always be behind me. And in the evening, early mornings or late in the evenings, it's not so bad. But if I stream in the afternoon, it puts a bit of a glare on the setup. I might do something with these closets. I was thinking like mirrors, but I don't think I might do some kind of posters on there or something to make it a little more interesting. Some kind of lights back there. I don't know. I know brown doesn't always make for the best background, but I'm the coffee guy. So I saw Espresso Green Brown. Fuck, I gotta get it, right? All right, my friends. So did we talk about enough conspiracies and things? Donnie, no one ever really outside of me, no one really challenged you on Die Hard. There's always room for more. Yes, there is, Andy. And I told you yesterday. So you make it? Is it pizza night? I made some pork schnitzel yesterday. Oh, it's so good. There's some good pork schnitzel. I just pounded that meat and the pork too. But everything, I mean, going back to the computer, the power unit, everything that's working really well there. Um, I am so bad when I go to order something, and I sometimes look at, even though like this sold 700 and something units, And conspiracy, can you trust YouTube or can you trust Amazon to tell you the truth how many they sold? Oh, your son is off to a party today, so won't be home till late. So I made a pizza for lunch today. There you go. Not sure what's for dinner. Well, thank you, DJ, for stopping by. It's always great when you stop by. Okay. Grabbing you old timers. But I didn't want to spend a lot, and I wanted something decent, and it got some pretty good ratings. But everybody going, well, the warranty. If I got 10 years out of a basic, so low end hardware source, power source for 10 years, I'm going to get some years out of this too, and it's designed much better. So, but. All right, my friends, I am now hungry. That bacon has made me really hungry. Andy, I hope you come up with something good to eat tonight. I'm not sure what I'm going to make tonight. Usually I try to do simpler things. But this week, my son turns 31. So he's having a friend over and going to make some pizzas there. Okay, cereal. Sometimes cereal is good. Computer, let's say goodbye. Computer, time to say goodbye. There we go.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, computer. All right, let's see if my scrolling. I gotta get the moderators changed. But thank you, Andy, for being a subscriber. Thank you to JJ, Donnie, Andy, Nova over on. I gotta change that to Twitch viewers. And all right, the YouTubes are coming through. Guy and Cyber. Thank you guys for watching. I will be on Tuesday for Tux Tuesday. We'll be back on Linux on Endeavor OS. And we'll talk about stuff there on Linux. All right. So come check me out, and thank you guys for joining. I hope you have enjoy the rest of your Sunday, the end of your Sunday, or the beginning of your Monday. See you guys soon. Bye now.